Hello, this is Matt. I'm 40 years old and I'm seeking knowledge so that I can learn how to communicate and teach my kids so I can prepare my kids to be better than me. These are the only men I want to actually lose to. I want them to have the wisdom and willingness to take a risk, the confidence and courage to win, lose, or draw, to get their money out of the bank and put it to work. Because we've all heard the terms bank on it. It's as good as money in the bank. Well, I don't believe in that. I think it's as good as gold because throughout our history, the bank has always let us down. They've always been bailed out while we've been holding the bag, right? If you look through our U.S. history, the bank has always failed. Now, we do need the bank. The bank creates currency. We need currency to make the economy go. The more money out there, the more things inflate in price, and we need that, right? We can't have deflation because then everything gets less and less valuable that you own. You need currency supply to grow so that prices can continue to grow, but it has to be manageable, right? You can't just dilute your current dollars by printing paper. So let's talk about the War of 1812. It's kind of the forgotten war. It's us against Britain, and we were trying to expand west. It was kind of like we were that teenager wanting to get out of the house and go west. Now I know Western expansion did destroy the Indian culture, so that is a terrible mark on our history. But we did expand west because we were growing as a country, and you need money. So in 1816, there was the Bank of the United States, and they had a 20-year charter. So from 1816 to 1836, 20 years to be a bank. And they had an 11% reserve. So they were printing paper, and all they needed to keep was 11% gold and silver so that you could come back and redeem your bills for gold and silver. Kind of a low rate. Now, at that same time, 1818 was the start of the state banks, right? Again, we're expanding west. We need a lot more currency. 1818, there were state banks popping up. So at that time, there was 340 different state banks. Now, the banks could be trusted because they were redeemable to gold and silver. So you could take your paper back to the bank and get gold and silver coinage. But again, they had a 10 to 15% reserve requirement. So if there was a bank run, all this was going to dry up. It sounds like it can't go wrong, right? Obviously it did. So in 1819, there was a panic, a bank run, and all of a sudden, all the banks did not have to redeem in specie. They were forgiven. So the banks were in a way bailed out, while the people that had their money in that bank were left holding the bag. So we went from 340 state banks all the way down to 267 state banks. All these banks shut down. If you had your money in there, it's gone. In 1828, Andrew Jackson became our president. He also won in 1832. And again, remember the Bank of the United States was chartered from 1816 to 36. So Andrew Jackson vetoed the recharter. He wanted to end the Bank of the United States. He called it a den of vipers, a monster. It wasn't good for the country. 1837 to 1860 was known as the free banking era. So if you wanted to start a business, if you wanted to start a neighborhood or town business, you could start a bank. It's the same as opening up a butcher shop. You could have a bank. And there were some beautiful banknotes from that era, and each banknote was redeemable for gold and silver. This was a great time, and the number of banks by 1860 was up to 1,600 banks. It sounds crazy. It was the Wild West because, again, we were expanding west. And it relates to having that neighborhood trusted banker, somebody that you knew was going to be there and you could go to get a loan from. So it's kind of cool, right? I kind of like that it was a free banking era. Now, when the Civil War started, specie redemption was ended again. You no longer could go back to your bank and demand gold and silver. Then Abraham Lincoln created the greenback, which just introduced more currency into the system. We needed more currency. So the lesson learned through all this is hold your gold and silver. This is the only thing that's held its value through time. Because even if your paper says it's redeemable, they can revoke that in an instant. If there's a war or a panic or a bank run, they can stop specie redemption. And then what do you have? You're stuck with paper. Now, in 1913, the Federal Reserve was established, and these are the bills we have now. They're Federal Reserve notes. They do not mention anything about gold and silver. They are paper. So the term bank on it, as good as money in the bank, means nothing to me, right? The value of this is dependent on how many they print and how long they want to make this be currency. If you want to control your own destiny, you put your money into silver and gold. You convert your paper into silver. And then this has its own value, right? And likely it will go up. We hope it will go up. But no matter what, you own this silver. It is yours. So why are we talking about banking? It's because right now we have many options of where to put your money. You can go put it in your checking account and you'll earn 0% interest, and that bank is going to loan it out and they're going to profit. But again, that makes the world go round. That's needed. But I wouldn't put too much in there. You can convert some of your money to silver and gold, hold it in your physical possession, become your own bank. If things go bad, you still have your silver and gold. And now with cryptocurrency, that's another option. And I consider the cryptocurrency having so many options, kind of like the Wild West of free banking. You're going to put your money into any of these horses, right? There's thousands of different horses, whichever one you think is going to do the best. Put your money in Bitcoin, Ethereum, Ripple, Cardano, Litecoin. There's thousands. Put it in there if you want. If you believe in that, let it go. I want to show you an interview from 1988 that has a 17-year-old Tupac Shakur. So in 1988, I was 8 years old. Tupac was 17. He passed away 8 years later. He was shot, right? But Tupac has so much wisdom that now as a 40-year-old man, I'm watching this interview from a 17-year-old kid, and I'm going to relate that to how I'm going to raise my kids. So I'm trying to teach my sons, my 3 boys, about coins, gold, silver, the history of banking, the history of money. How did we get here, guys? This is important to teach my kids because they're not going to learn it in school. Just like Tupac says in his interview, the things we teach to our kids isn't exactly what they need to survive, right? They're learning about gym and volleyball when they should be learning about the history of money. Should be learning about how to take care of themselves, how to avoid scams.
So she taught me respect, knowledge, and understanding, mostly, just listen a lot. Definitely. Oh, definitely. Definitely. But not being a yup parent, like yup people, just not being, oh, yes, dear, I understand. Yes, you can go to the party. That doesn't help. Those produce even worse kids because it produces ambitious but unready children, and those where our martyrs come from, So I think they should listen, but analyze what they're saying. Just don't push them through the path, and don't hold them from going to the path, but help them through the path. That's what I think should happen. But school is really important, reading, writing, arithmetic. There should be a class on drugs. It should be a class on sex education, a real sex education class, not just pictures and diaphragms and unlogical terms and things like that. There should be a drug class. There should be sex education. There should be a class on scams. There should be a class on religious cults. There should be a class on police brutality. There should be a class on apartheid. There should be a class on racism in America. There should be a class on why people are hungry, but they're not. There are classes on gym, physical education. Let's learn volleyball. Because one day we're going to, there are classes like algebra, where I've yet to go to a store and said, can I have X, Y plus 2 and give me my Y change back, thank you. I think you could let me out. I've lived alone by myself, and the things that helped me were the things that I learned from my mother and from the streets. And reading has helped me. I mean, school has taught me reading, which is I love reading, writing, and arithmetic. That's it. Like foreign languages, I think they're important, but I don't think it should be required, because actually they should be teaching you English and then teaching you how to understand double talk, politicians double talk, not teaching you how to understand French and Spanish and German. When am I going to Germany? I can't afford to pay my rent in America. How am I going to Germany? We're not being taught to deal with the world as it is. We're being taught to deal with this fairyland, which we're not even living in anymore. It's sad.
Throughout our history, gold and silver have stood the test of time. Now, paper bills, they no longer say redeemable to gold and silver. This is what you need to go buy groceries and gas. But the price of gas and the price of groceries are out of your control. So this may not buy you as much as it used to. It's actually designed to buy you less and less and less and less because they want you to spend it. That's what keeps this thing rolling, guys. Inflation makes you go take this to the store and spend it for goods. So I'm looking for inspiration. I'm listening to audiobooks, looking for different YouTube videos, anything that's going to teach me something so that I can digest it and then try to teach my kids about it. Because I think this is the greatest thing I can pass on to them. What I love about coins is this can be a side hustle for me, a hobby to share with my kids, and if they really love it, this could be a way for them to start making money at 15 years old. They could start a business or at least start a collection that's going to grow in value. So this is just passing on knowledge, but also preparing them for the real world, right? Where they're going to be able to support themselves. So I'm actually learning how to teach coin history with you right now. We're here to learn, we're here to grow. So I'm happy that you're here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Of it was all the banknotes had to be charter. So they had from 18, 16,